What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Put me at MSOGD Rocks or Rock Metal Thrive. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is January 14th of 2021, and this might be the tastiest podcast ever. And by tastiest is because we are talking with Kenny Wilkerson from the band Nova Rex, and he has a cookbook out, ladies and gentlemen. The cookbook is called Rockin Recipes for Autism. We talk all about it to where Kenny was able to get recipes from so many different members of so many different bands where you can cook like a rock star and eat like a rock star. Plus, we also talk about stuff coming up with 2021. And you gotta ask this question yourself. Do you know what a mini single is? Because we talk all about it. Alrighty, everybody. So please welcome Kenny from the band Nova Rex and the author of Rockin Recipes for Autism. Are you guys ready? Because this one is delicious. So let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, we have probably the tastiest guest I have on here because he's got a brand new cookbook called Rockin Recipes for Autism. He's from the band Nova Rex. They've been around for over 30 years at this point, so please welcome Kenny Wilkerson. So, Kenny, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kevin, for having me.
How's it going? Ooh, there's the book right there. Alrighty, we're just gonna jump right into.
No, man, it's all good. How's your Christmas?
Christmas was fine, actually, except for the fact that on Christmas Day, my favorite football team, which is the Minnesota Vikings, played, and that did not go well. My brother's a huge Saints fan, so in the house it was a little bit iffy. However, I did get to spend both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with my 92-year-old grandpa, and he stole a beer from me. His first beer in 2 years, and he stole it from me. Oh, I couldn't be more proud.
That's a memory. Usually the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah, usually it's the other way around. But because I walked in his house on Christmas Eve, walked downstairs, he was deep frying shrimp, and he's just like, "Oh, you brought beer for me?" I'm like, "No, this is for me. Do you mind if I take one or two?"
Nice. I like Grandpa already.
Yeah, I was already smiling ear to ear because ever since I was like a little kid, like 2-3 years old, we were able to remember certain things. My grandpa would always be the one, "Hey, go get me a genuine draft down in the basement." I was always the kid that would run and have to go get him beer every single time until he stopped drinking beer when he turned 90. But this was the first time he had a beer since his 90th birthday, and that was 2.5 years ago. So
I like the accent, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That's
you had to do the Wisconsin accent when you were doing it. Give me a beer. How'd you do it? How was that?
Hey, get me a beer, that kid.
Love Wisconsin.
You get that old Wisconsin mixed with 100% Polish accent. So
right, yeah, I got
to get that in there. But how's your Christmas and how was the whole entire holiday season for you?
It was okay. I mean, I'm in Florida, so it's always good. But the thing is, it actually got cold here. It was a high of 40 or something like that on Christmas.
Really?
Which was weird because the day before it was high of 80, exactly 12 hours earlier.
So that sounds like something that I would have here because I remember Christmas 2019 here in Milwaukee, the high was 60 degrees. And then Christmas in 2020, the high was 17.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Indiana, man, so I get updates all the time.
No, then you totally understand what it's like to live in wintertime and Christmas.
Listen,
and
Wisconsin, though, I have to say that I remember being on the road in Wisconsin in the winter and probably the coldest place on earth.
Really?
No, it was brutal because you guys had the sleet coming down. And I remember we had a van pulling the trailer back in the early 90s. And I remember that we had to leave a roadie out in the van to keep it running so it wouldn't freeze up on us so we'd get the hell out of town. And then he was stuck inside the van for like an hour because it sleeted on him. And, it freezes the door. You know what I mean? You got to pour hot water and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, man. I remember well. And then snow is all, everybody's like, hey, we love snow. And it's good for like the first hour. But after that, it turns into green, wet slush.
Oh, yeah. It's always the worst.
Yeah, that's what people seem to forget,
I'll say, don't worry. I dealt with that even more so when I went to school as well in college because I went to the University of Minnesota, so I was even further north than I was right now. And the first winter I was there was a time period, about 55 days where at some point during the day, the low temperature was below zero. At some point during the day, and I had to walk to class every which way, and I had the decision to walk through all the buildings, walk through their tunnel system to stay warm. However, it would take me about 2.5 times longer just to get to class because of how many people were there and how many weird twists and turns I'd take. Or just bundle up and brave the cold and walk across the Mississippi River to class. That would take me about 20 minutes. I'm like, well, either sleep for an extra half hour or be warm on my walk to class. I'm going to take the extra sleep. Screw it. I'm in college. I need sleep.
Yeah, no, it's cold. But I've been in Florida now since 95. So it's been a while.
You've been in Florida pretty much as long as I've been alive.
Well, I've been in Florida as long as I've been in Indiana. So yeah, no, I moved down here when I was 2. I'm kidding. I'm not doing that.
Let's say, wait a minute, that doesn't add up.
I would say I live where you vacation.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I was down in, I'm trying to think. The last time I was down in Orlando I was down there in February 2019 because my dad and I flew down there in middle of February because his 60th birthday was on February 17th, 2019. And one thing he always wanted to do was go and see the Daytona 500. It was on his 60th birthday that year. So I said, you know what? This has to happen. We have to go. So we flew down there. And the Friday beforehand, he has cousins that are originally from Louisiana, but they had a summer home or a winter home, I should say, just in Kissimmee. So they're like, hey, come down, just come to Orlando, come to Kissimmee, hang out with us, have lunch, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, having lunch led to going to Disney Springs, which led to me seeing a bunch of little kids and parents being annoyed at these little kids while I have a beer in my hand. It was awesome.
But you guys went to the race? You guys went to the 500?
Oh, yeah, I went to the 500. My dad did not get up from his seat the whole entire race.
Listen, it's funny you say that. My dad's a little older. My dad's 70, 76. But on his 60th birthday, my mom, I think it was his 60th, my mom bought him tickets to the 500 for the same thing. You know what I mean? Now, it happened. I remember it was a sunny day. I had to drop his ass off up there. But that was the year that Earnhardt Sr. died.
Oh, that was 2001?
On the last lap of Daytona 500.
Wow.
My old man was there for that. But yeah, that was an experience. One of those, he stepped up and spent the money. I go to the race every year. I used to go down there with the radio station and interview drivers and stuff. I was lucky last couple years interview Jimmy Johnson, guys like that. So it's pretty cool.
I'll say you're talking to someone who really got into racing because my dad got into it. So of course, I'm 6, 7 years old when this is happening. I think I was 6 when Earnhardt died, and that was the first race I actually watched. And then the following race, I was following Daytona 500. I was in some sort of Daytona 500 pool where the winner won $150, and my driver happened to be Ward Burton that day, so I won $150 on it. That pretty much had me set in there for okay. Then it's okay, who's your favorite driver? I'm I don't have a favorite driver. And I ended up picking Kevin Harvick because my name, Kevin H. It just made sense. And I pretty much just stuck on that ever since. So. Oh,
that's cool. Now, my dad's a car guy. He's a retired used car salesman. He had his own lot and everything. So I grew up around cars, man. I mean, he was selling cars before I was born.
Oh,
he's a total car guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it makes sense that for his 60th birthday, signed him to the 500. It just makes total sense. But it's just weird that I sent my dad to Daytona for his 60th birthday for the 500, and you did the exact same thing. Only 18 years earlier. It's you gotta be kidding me. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, and I'm trying to think 2019 was a good year because last year it was cold.
It was cold, and it got rained out because in 2019. I remember it was I think it was sunny the whole entire day, and it was a high of about 78 degrees. And where we were sitting, it was in between the start finish line and in turn 1. So we were pretty much right at the exits of pit road. That was probably the best way to describe it. And
you had a good slot. You had a good seat.
It was just looking around this is completely different than anything else I could have imagined in terms of the crowd with what was able to be brought in, because I'm seeing people bringing soft-sided coolers, bringing their own beer. And I'm just thinking there is nowhere else in America at any sport event where they allow this stuff. But at NASCAR races.
Yeah, no, you know what? I thought it was so wild about NASCAR, especially even last time I noticed it, just a lot of money. I mean, these guys have $500,000 freaking RVs parked, and they got their little. And the other thing that's cool about the 500 too is quite a few hot chicks.
Oh yeah.
They like racing. Chicks love cars, man.
Well, now that's why I'm excited for 20. We were supposed to be 2020, but now it's gonna be 2021, where my dad, my brother, and I we're going to your home state of Indiana, or your.
You're doing the 500.
Yeah, we were going to do it this year, but of course, COVID happened. So we took the 3 tickets we were going to have, and we bumped them all to 2021.
No, that's a fun gig, too. The only thing different about the 500, are you seeing the Indy cars, or are you going to see the NASCAR series?
IndyCar, we're definitely doing the actual 500. We're not going to do the Brickyard.
Right, the Brickyard. Yeah. No, fun. The only thing about that is like the biggest track in the country or something, because you know how like when you come up on Daytona, you can kind of see the curvature of the, you can sort of see the circle, from the street. But when you get to Indy, it's just one long, you can't see the end. It's like you got to just drive till you see an end, then you can turn left and you just drive. It's so massive, dude. It's really, really big.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I looked at where their tickets were, and we're in the grandstands, but we're in the infield in the grandstands. So I'm not sure what we're all going to be able to walk around. If we're going to be able to get around. Well, me and my brother, knowing us, we're going to end up being able to sneak our way around into all the RVs and basically into the little proxy nation that is the Indy infield.
Yeah, man. It's just, you got to be a car grouper. It's not like a rock and roll groupie. It's car groupie.
I mean, we'll see what happens as long as I don't wear like something that's like, oh, hey, you can clearly tell I'm not supposed to be here. I think I'll be okay.
Right. No, you'll have fun with that. That's cool. Yeah. That'll be a good one. That's coming up soon too, right? Or that's in the
that's Memorial Day weekend. So it'll be at the end of May. And hopefully by the time that happens that, everything will be fine going into Indy. And
well, they got the vaccination now, so we'll see, right?
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, because there've been some tours that I've been seeing already starting to pop up. Mostly probably the biggest one I've seen pop up is Bring Me the Horizon is trying to get a tour going. They have dates scheduled for starting middle of May, but it's all in Europe though. But the fact that there's something there that they are planning tours beginning middle of May, beginning of May, and there are festivals like Download Fest over in Europe, and then over here in America, I think some of the Danny Wimmer Presents stuff is still set and ready to go for 2021. I know here in Wisconsin, Rockfest over in Cadott that happens in July. That's still set and ready to go for 2021. So hopefully this is all still going to happen, especially with the vaccine rollout. However, in time, we'll know more.
Well, I figure we're going to know a lot more by the end of next month. Because I figure if the vaccine is available, they can't stop you. As far as going out. If it's available, it's available. Now you may have to, it'll be up to each person to, if they take it or not. But I mean, if it's available, how can you shut stuff down?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process too. Plus, with everything else that's happened over the past year with the entertainment industry and the service industry, specifically those two that have been absolutely decimated by this. I mean, they're going to be pushing for this to end up getting reopened. It's like, hey, the vaccines have been available for this amount of time. People have had ample amount of time to get it. We should be able to open up and play live music, go to bars, and just basically go back to what we were doing pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was a lot of picking and choosing, by the way, what stays open and what doesn't. But I think that the first of the year, I think we're going to be all right. I talk about it all the time, about radio airplay being so hard for artists because, there's only a few companies that own all the radio stations. And if you're not in their pockets, they don't play you. They just don't. So that's done. And I was talking about a story I did about a month ago. I did a story where vinyl outsold CDs for the first time ever. And I thought that was funny. It's not because vinyl's doing better. It's just because nobody buys CDs anymore. Everything's free, download, singles, all that. So if you can't make money as far as a musician, selling your music and getting radio play, what's left? Well, the only thing left is touring. And damn if 2020 didn't take that away from us. Yeah, so I'm worried about a lot of bands. I think there's going to be a lot of bands that won't survive it. That'll just break up or retire. And then I think that a lot of these venues, some of these venues have been around 50, 60 years and they're shut down. And they'll never reopen. Not in the near future anyways.
Yeah, I ended up making a whole YouTube video for the beginning of the year. And this was one thing I looked at too, especially with the venues and the bands that are going to be available once touring returns. And my whole entire thought process was when I was in school, I studied economics. So the supply and demand, the demand of shows, the demand of bands being able to play show. However, the supply of stages is going to be down because a lot of these independent venues weren't able to survive during this. And even with all of a sudden, at the end of 2020, oh yeah, they're Save Our Stages in the government stimulus. Yeah, it took 9 freaking months to put that in there for an industry that was absolutely decimated. You guys didn't do any help to it. I went off on a whole rant on that, but my main thing was there's going to be a lot of bands out there, especially bands that had a lot more money behind them and had a lot more prominence behind them going into the pandemic, where all of a sudden shows are going to come back. We're going to have a limited amount of stage time, but we're going to have a lot of bands trying to get on on these stages, and the bands that are able to throw their weight around are going to get the preferred times. And a lot of these smaller bands might end up getting completely shut out of that just because there's a certain amount of time slots, and whoever's going to be able to pay more or be able to bring in more money is going to end up getting those time slots.
I'm with you on all that. But I like I said, I think the herd's going to get thinned out a little bit too, though. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I know I did another, because I do this thing called a rock report Monday through Friday, and I do a little information. I seen where they said 86 or something like that % of all bands on all levels work paycheck to paycheck.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah. So unless you're Metallica sitting on a bunch of money, you know what I mean, that kind of thing, or Stones, but there's a lot of other bands in between them and bar bands, you know what I mean? It's all this right here. So we'll see. I mean, but I hope it can't get any worse, right? So
I mean, we always say we hope it can't get any worse, but if 2020 has proven anything, it easily can. So
it can. No, it can. That's why I said, make a joke saying, hey, 2020 might tell, or 2021 might tell 2020 to hold my beer.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually kind of scared of, because all of a sudden it's be like, okay, what the heck's gonna happen now? And
yeah,
I'll say for me, how I got through 2020, I'm not sure of, just because, I mean, financially everything I was okay, but all of a sudden it was like, alrighty, like right as the shutdown started, I thought I might have had COVID, but nope, it was food poisoning. All of a sudden, 2 months later, I thought I had food poisoning. Nope, my appendix had to be removed.
Oh wow, bummer, man. Yeah, so you've had a hell of a year, anyways.
Yeah, and it was something where, even like with my full-time job, my boss was like, yeah, I can tell you why your body's hurting yourself. I'm like, okay, why is that? Well, you haven't been in a mosh pit in a couple of months, so it's trying to hurt itself and trying to do it's trying to compensate for that. And I was sitting there thinking, you know what, you might actually be right on that.
Yeah. Well, people, I think they're understanding it now, but how important music really is to them. And it's just something that we hate to see go away. I mean, they take music out of schools. They've taken music out of everything anyway. So that's the last little thing that we have, is going out and seeing live performances. People in general need to be around other people, I think, and like-minded people. So, and I'm just glad, the election's over with, all the Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, the Me Too, nobody even talks about aliens, how they were talking about that too. It's like this year's it's thrown everything at us,
Yeah, this year's thrown so much at us to the point where we're not being able to focus on just one thing. However, with the lack of live shows, I do totally agree with you, where, especially here in America, we're completely missing out on that due to the fact that a lot of people went there to go to live shows because that was where they felt the most amount of happiness, to where they were going there and they were seeing people that they'd see at every single show. Hell, I felt the same thing too. There were people that I go to at the rave here in Milwaukee where I'd see them for every single show I went to. I have no idea what their names are, but I recognize their faces, and it was always fun to talk to them at those shows. And then all of a sudden, on comes Fit for a King, and they start going. All of a sudden, the mosh pit starts going. I end up knocking like 3 of these guys to the ground just because that's what happens. Nice. But everyone's always happy about it. Everyone's always having a great time. Yeah. And it's just that release of anxiety, that release of just any kind of bad thought you have there, because the band that you like on stage is playing, and you're feeling that energy from the band, but also you're being able to relate to a lot of things from their music, and you're seeing how many other people are connecting to the band through a completely different avenue, but the effect is the exact same. So it's just this whole euphoric feeling. You said it well.
So yes, we need to get some touring back out there. Right now for us, like I said, we have a couple of shows in January, a couple of shows the 1st of February, but they're Harley Davidson dealerships.
Okay.
And because, you can't really do a festival per se right now. Those are not like on the table. I mean, we're hoping in May and things, but festivals have been shut down. Obviously, you're not going to go to any big arena shows. So the only thing left for us that we're scrounging around for is Harley dealerships, because they still kind of have the money to do an event. It's still somewhat part of it. Most Harley guys, I mean, you can't be broke and have a Harley. These guys have it together. So, but that's what we have coming up. We got some Harley gigs coming up. I got one February 5th and 6th with a band called Saving Abel. You know those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And, so we got a show come up in Stuart, Florida, and a couple of charity events, some stuff. But what we're really excited about for us is, like I said, this is our 35th anniversary this year. Hopefully ready to get into 2021. But we got a new single, and it's hilarious, dude. We got a single that we're dropping on January 1st, a YouTube premiere at 5 p.m. Eastern. And what's so funny about it is, So, I was trying to tell you off air that I'm in the radio business, right? I've been in it for about a year now, stationed here in Central Florida. And on Wednesdays, we do independent artists. And on independent artists, a lot of times people send us songs in, and they'll have a 40-second intro. And we're like, man, them days are over. Because, you lose them by 40 seconds. just like for social media. So you go to Facebook and you say, hey, I'm going to be at this place at 8:00 tonight. That's all you write. The first comment will be, what time? Like nobody even reads anything. So what we did as kind of a stunt, we cut a mini single. It's never been done before. I know it sounds crazy, right? You hear EPs and all these kind of things. We did a mini single. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. You have to check it out. But the video drops on, again, January 1st at 5 p.m. Mini single. So that's going to be fun for this year.
And then for everybody listening to this as well, or watching on YouTube, for when you're trying to find the single, I will include the link in the description for that single as well, so that it's going to be the easiest thing for you guys to watch this mini single as well, which I'm really curious to see what this mini single actually is and what this is all going to entail, because who knows? There's always something that starts out a huge trend, like you're talking about with 40-second intros. No one's going to be listening to a 40-second intro in a song anymore because everything's stuck on streaming with Spotify, Apple Music. And people are going to click on something, and you've got to basically get their attention within the first 5 or 6 seconds. Otherwise, they're going to completely shut you down right from there. It's not like going out and buying a CD or buying a CD 20 years ago or buying a vinyl record 40 years ago, because you're actually buying it. You're actually investing your money into it. So you're going to listen to it to see if you can get the value that you paid for out of it, no matter what. So you're going to end up listening to each song. You're going to end up listening to the deep cuts. You're going to end up listening to each song over and over again so you can understand the meaning behind it. Now with streaming, there's no investment behind it. So like for me, it's like I could click on a song. I mean, for me personally, because I listen to a lot of this stuff, I work with a lot of this stuff, I'm going to actually take the time to listen to it because I'm invested in it. However, for the casual listener, like they're going to end up clicking on something. All of a sudden, if you don't have them in the first 5 seconds, they're going to go to a completely different artist or go back to an artist that they know just because, oh, I don't like it off the first 5 seconds. This ain't worth my time. Ew. Yeah.
So you pretty much got your head wrapped around what we're doing. But yes, I'm calling it a mini single, and the video is completely epic, dude. It's epic. It looks like we're like a mini Kiss show. So it's going to be really fun. Over the top, flamethrowers and smoke geysers and the whole deal. So
okay, then I'm super excited to see this. And when it drops on January 1st, I will make sure that when the YouTube premiere happens, that I will have my computer loaded and ready for it, because
it's gonna be fun, dude.
You've got me intrigued on this like none other.
Yeah, so we got that coming up, and then obviously, you know, the thing that I've been working on, which is a bad year because it happened in the middle of COVID, but I just came out with this cookbook called Rockin Recipes for Autism. I called it Volume 1 for the fact that when I started off, I had about 80 recipes. I thought I was going to even get more, but this particular book has 57 famous rockers. It's a rock star written cookbook. I've got members from Ozzy, Whitesnake, Quiet Riot, Stone Sour, Warrant, Poison Evanescence, Skid Row, Dokken. Anyways, what it is, it's there's a company down in South Florida called We Rock For Autism that I kept seeing at festivals. And they do music therapy for kids that are on the spectrum. I happen to have a son that has Asperger's, so he's like a form of autism. And so I kind of dedicated the book to him. And then what I did is I just reached out to rock and roll community. I didn't call any managers or labels or nothing. I just called these guys up. A lot of these guys I've seen over the last 35 years on the road. And we just did recipes. Like, for instance, here's Ricky Rocket from Poison. He did black bean sliders. This is like never been done before, by the way. See who else I got. You know, the late Frankie Banelli from Quiet Riot. Pumpkin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I mean, just a lot of different guys in here. Twisted Sister.
Nice.
I find another one. Joey Allen, he's cool. From Warrant. Let me see what else I got. Steve Lukather has a son with autism. So it's just fun little recipes. A lot of them have backstories to them. It reads like a Reader's Digest type of thing, because I've never done a cookbook before. Don Dokken, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, would you want to have it some like a traditional cookbook where it's just the straight up recipes? If you're going to be doing something where you're going to have these rock stars and you're putting in their own recipes in there, you're going to want to have the backstory behind it as well, because it's going to add more to the lore of the cookbook, add more to the lore of those bands as well, because then it might have been something they came up with on the road out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, or they ate something like similar on the road. They're like, okay, I want to recreate this at home, and then all of a sudden they create their own recipe out of it, and then you can literally eat like a rock star.
Yeah, what happened on the book is I reached out to these guys, and majority of them were cooks, owned restaurants, things like that. You know, I got Ron Keel in it, and he did like some kind of fair-winning chili that he owned, you know, that he has, and that kind of stuff. So, but the book is a three-parter. Really, if you happen to be, you like to cook, and I know a lot of people during the pandemic have been cooking at home. But if you like to cook, say like a Martha Stewart or a Paula Deen or Rachel Ray, then you buy the book. If you happen to really want to know what Don Dokken cooks from the band Dokken, what his favorite, and he used to be a chef, by the way, or still is, you get the book. Or if you just want to help support autism, which they say 1 in 54 people in America have some form of autism, you get the book, and the proceeds go again to We Rock For Autism, which again does music therapy, as we were talking about. It's in our wheelhouse, and these kids really relate to music therapy. So,
I'll say was working with We Rock For Autism, was that inspired by you seeing them all the time at different festivals that you were at? Was it also inspired by the fact that you have a son with Asperger's? So being able to connect with something like a group like We Rock For Autism and create something for that to help them out as well, and to help out for autism research and for music therapy as well. Was that a big inspiration behind the cookbook?
Yes. Well, what happened was the story goes like this. I had another radio gig for a while, and I was interviewing just rock guys, you know. And I interviewed this guy, and I said, I just got back from New Orleans. I happen to be a fan of New Orleans. I go there maybe like once a year, excuse me. And if you ever go to New Orleans, you eat the food there, it takes you about a week to recover, because you're not coming back and going to Olive Garden after eating at New Orleans, right? So as I was talking to this guest, he's like, oh, I'm from New Orleans. My mom's from there. I got this jambalaya recipe that's 100 years old. So I was like, cool. So it got sent to me. Then I started collecting some recipes. Then after I had about 20 of them, it's kind of an ongoing thing, I kept seeing this company, We Rock For Autism, at different festivals. They were always there. People were signing guitars. They were raising money. And I ended up speaking to them and getting the backstory on it, why they have this organization. And they're talking about music therapy and this and that. And so now that I have 20 some recipes and I have the charity, well, it was this time to suck it up and make it happen. So then I started reaching out, grabbed, like I said, I started with about 80 recipes thinking I needed 100. But after I got done, I mean, the book itself is almost a 2-pound book. I mean, it's a coffee table book, hardback, full glossy. Each person has like 2 pages, you know what I mean? Like a photo and the recipe with a little bio on the recipe. And like I said, never been done before. And the couple of cool things that happen, if you go to Rockin without a G, Rockin Recipes for Autism.com, there's some flip pages, some stuff that's going on, why I did it, where the money's going to. But the cool thing is Rachel Ray did an article on it in Rachel Ray magazine, which I thought was totally cool for a musician, because that never was I never thought it'd be in Rachel Ray. Billboard, yes. Rachel Ray, no. So things like that, and it just I like it for the fact that you can't see a lot of these rockers play now, as we've been talking about, but you can see what they cook in the kitchen for a great cause. Again, the book probably should have went for $50, but it sells for $29.95, and the proceeds go to We Rock. So you're doing a lot of favors. You know, you're buying a book, you're supporting musicians, and obviously a great charity.
Plus, when I looked into We Rock For Autism, when I found out about doing the whole entire thing with music therapy for children, that's one thing that I've heard not only people in the medical field talk about as well with music therapy, but also for myself when, I think it was, 3 years ago when I was going through this mass amount of depression, suicidal tendencies. One thing that helped me get through that a lot was music, just because relating certain emotions to the sounds and just relating certain experiences, like, okay, you know, if I'm feeling like this, if I need to get out of the certain funk, what song do I listen to? All of a sudden, boom, I'm listening to Not Gonna Die by Skillet, and it just amps me up like none other.
Great song.
Trying to get back to feeling like myself and trying to really feel like I am myself again. Listen to as much Rise Against as possible, because that's what I listened to all the time in high school, and that's my favorite band. So I'm like, okay, I'm sticking with that. And now when it comes down, it's like, okay, get amped up, get calmed down and stuff. Like, I'm always listening to rock and metal, but it's always just a little bit of different stuff here and there. And it seems like at times, okay, this should like just completely amp you up while you're listening to bed. Well, it helps clear my mind. It calms me down. So I'm totally behind music therapy as well, because there is so much there in terms of mental connection with it. Plus, with working with We Rock For Autism as well, and having the connection with, okay, Rockin Recipes for Autism, there's a lot of rock music involved throughout all of this. The connection is fully there. And when people are looking at the book as well, like I said, they're not getting recipes. They're also getting some backstories behind these recipes as well. And they're able to cook and eat like their favorite rock stars. I mean, the fact that you include guys like from Ozzy Osbourne, from Whitesnake, Roy Mayorga from Stone Sour, Will Hunt from Evanescence, and other people from not only from rock bands like in the 80s and 70s, but also closer to today as well. You expanded a very vast array of people where all of a sudden they're going to get bands that they like, that you're going to see, hey, this band had this person in here that put a recipe in Rockin Recipes for Autism. All of a sudden they're going to start checking out other bands as well that you have in there because they say they like Stone Sour. Okay, and they're going to check out some stuff that might be closer related to Stone Sour that's in that cookbook.
No, I thought about all that. What honestly, really, I mean, it leans 80s metal because I happen to know most of those guys. But I did know, we did, like I said, the drummer from Stone Sour. I've got the kids from Palais Royale in the book. They're blowing up. But then I also have Hall of Famers like Steve Boone from Loving Spoonful. He lives down the street from me. Nice. So I mean, I respect that guy. You know what I mean? So, or Carmine Apiece, those kind of guys. I mean, like I said, I used to have these posters on my wall. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to and they were all super cool. I mean, nobody really turned me down. They were all into it. So I was very excited about that. The main thing is just trying to put out a book in the middle of a COVID and an election year, by the way. So just trying to get the word out.
However, where you did get lucky with it, though, is the fact that it's a cookbook as well. So it's something that people can do at home. It's not something where it's going to be, they're going to read it, and then after an hour and a half, they're going to put it away and not see it again. I mean, this is something that has a lot of rereading value because, hey, I'm going to try out this recipe. And with people constantly cooking during the pandemic because you can't really go anywhere, so people are honing certain skills that they have. Some people are playing a lot of video games. Some people are doing stuff like podcasting, like me over here. There's a lot of people I know that were cooking and like making bread and trying to do all these different recipes. So honestly, it's kind of weird to say it, but it is oddly a really good time to release something like this because people are able to try all these different recipes and say they try a different one every single week. Okay, there's 57 recipes in there. If they try one different thing every single week, they're going to be trying something new for just over a year. Yeah.
And I'm hoping to do another one, like I said. But right now, I'm just trying to get the word out on this one. I think it was a great idea. I invested my own money into it. So I just, and it's the most expensive thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding. And just trying to get it out there. I really thought I would be at festivals myself, with the band or without the band for that matter, selling cookbooks. I also thought that other bands that are in the book would do the same thing, and most of them would, but they're not touring either. And, with the COVID thing, you got to remember the first 3 months minimum, everything was shut down. There was no news outlets per se. A lot of shows shut down. So it was all just skeleton crews everywhere. And then it went from that to basically full-on COVID exposure, then election exposure, and we just got through Christmas. So hopefully 2021 will be the year.
Hopefully so, but then again, like you were saying, you have a lot of different bands in here, so hopefully when they go out on the road, once they're able to go out on the road, they're able to put these books out there. I mean, take a look at, I'll use Evanescence as an example as well, because they're coming out with a new album in March. All of a sudden, once touring comes back, they've got a whole new album to put out there as well. So when people are going to the merch stand to buy stuff from Evanescence, you could easily see that cookbook right there. It's like, well, why is Evanescence on this cookbook? Well, there is a recipe from Evanescence in here if you guys want to check it out, plus all this more stuff. So there's just an added value to it. Plus, again, having the guys from Palais Royale in there as well even amps it up more because you're getting younger people, you're getting younger kids like late teens, early 20s to potentially get into this stuff, especially during COVID, where a lot of these people might have been cooking and just trying different things. It's something to really take a look at.
Yeah, no, and like I said, ultimately, it's for a great cause. And then when it, like I said, when it comes to autism, I live in that world because of my son. So I understand, my son happens to be high functioning, but I've had him in autistic school for a couple of years. I mean, he had kids that were in school with him that were nonverbal, or ate the same lunch every day, or, couldn't tie their shoes when they're 18. You know what I mean? But they're really, really smart kids. They say guys like Elon Musk or, Beethoven or Einstein, these guys all have some form of autism. So, and that's funny too, because my son, who's 19, he that's his role model, Elon Musk. He's all about that guy. Like me, it was Jimmy Page or somebody, you know what I mean? But for him, it's Elon Musk. And since we live in Florida, I mean, dude, they're shooting off rockets every, twice a week down here.
Yeah, so when I was gonna say, like, when your son sees something like that, what's gonna happen is you're gonna get this inspiration because someone that you look up to that has some form of autism is doing these incredible things, like sending people into space, making these cars that are absolutely as efficient as all hell.
Yeah.
Hell, making a flamethrower and selling it for $2,000 just because, and people bought that up like crazy.
No, it's awesome. No, but like I said, it just, a lot of people don't know how to understand these kids. You know, my kid just went through school. And since elementary, they didn't know how to handle him. And another thing is too, is it seems like there's a lot of kids. I mean, when I was growing up, there was always that one kid that was a little bit different in the class, but now they have classrooms full of those kids. And I just don't understand why that many people. I mean, again, they say 1 in 54 people in America have some form of autism. That seems really high. And I understand that. And then, and the other thing about autism too, is that they're all completely different. The same but different. Not every kid has the same symptoms. You know, some might have OCD, anxiety with it. You know what I mean? My son has what's it, like dysgraphia or whatever they call it, with handwriting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he can write his name, but when he writes his name, it's like he's painting a freaking portrait or something. You know, so it's like weird. But then on other ends, he's super smart. So it's you just got to figure out how to focus these kids and get them in the right direction. It's pretty tough.
It is something. I even remember when I was in school as well. I mean, this is something I used to use high school as well, because this is honestly 10, 11 years ago, where something like this, where you have kids that just don't necessarily have the same learning abilities or have some form of autism. They're just not getting the proper needs that they have to get met, just because everyone else is like, okay, you know, we're just going to throw them all in together and just see what happens. Yep. And it definitely, you could, for even from my perspective, you could tell the kids that were struggling with this stuff just because of it, but they might have been some of the smartest kids around. It's just they weren't grasping the material, and they end up feeling like they were just not as important or not as smart just because they couldn't necessarily remember what happened in U.S. history back in 1655. Yep. However, watching what this kid could do with a computer and watch what this kid could do in physics class, where all of a sudden just everything just made sense to him. I'm watching, I'm like, okay, can you help me with this stuff? Because I have no idea what's going on.
Well, the thing about autistic kids too, from what I understand, and I only really have my perspective on it, but is that everything's literal. You know, I remember I tell the story when my son was in 3rd grade, they asked him what his favorite color was, blue, black, green, whatever, right? And he left it blank. So he got an X for it. And I'm like, son, why did you leave it blank? Because he doesn't have a favorite color. That's it. But I mean, for us, we would have just put in red. We would have filled it in just so we wouldn't have got it wrong, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it. You know, so it's or another comment that was kind of funny. We talked about, you know, he's like, Dad, Arby's, you know, the restaurant Arby's, right?
Yeah.
Arby's, you get it? RB, roast beef. I'm like, maybe. I mean, I don't even know. But who would have thought that, right?
Yeah, it's just something where the mind from someone that has some form of autism versus someone that doesn't, the mind works in a completely different way. And someone that has autism, their mind could work completely different from someone else who has a different form of autism, or same type of autism, just different symptoms. It all depends on that. And when you're able to recognize that someone thinks in a little bit of a different way, then okay, maybe they're not going to be as good in certain things, but however, they might absolutely excel in other things, and that's where they can double down on those strengths. Like, again, take a look at Elon Musk with all the stuff that he's doing, all this technical engineering kind of stuff, and it's just something that the dude is absolutely amazing at. So why not just let him roll with it?
Yeah, well, he thinks outside the box. And again, like I said, a lot of those kids are super smart. They just don't, their main problem with autistic is they have a hard time with social cues. You know, my son will look at you in the eyes and talk to you, but most autistic kids won't. They can't even hardly make eye contact. I mean, they'll talk to you, but it's just that they're just wired different, man. So it's definitely close to me. So that's why I did that. One kind right there. And the other thing that's cool about a cookbook too is that they don't expire. You know, if you cut a song, say even talking about Evanescence with their new stuff, they put out an album a year later or less, that song is done. They're off to the next single, right? Or the next album or whatever. Cookbooks, they're around forever. My girl comes from a cookbook cooking. She was raised in a restaurant, a diner. And she still has tons of cookbooks she's had 20 years, man. They don't really go away. I mean, you still pull out and get that, still make that roast beef, you know, so.
Yeah, and very rarely when it comes to music are you going to have a song that has that lifespan that just not only just get past a couple months, but get past a whole entire year as well. I mean, take a look at on SiriusXM Octane. They just released their Big Guns list right after Christmas. Right. And I was taking a look at it, and the number one song was Popular Monster by Falling Reverse, which came out in 2019. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, well, number one, I think that song is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, so I totally understand. But the fact of the matter is you take a look at 2020, Falling Reverse, they released a reimagined version of Drugging Me As You, and they released a unreleased song that they could have put on their Coming Home album in 2017. That's all they released. But Popular Monster just carried so much further because it hit with so many people. But that is the exception to the rule, where most of the time bands are going to put out albums. I mean, there's certain bands that put out albums in like January or February where when it came time to take a look at them again at the end of the year, some of them I forgot what they even sounded like because it just how much is in between there. And all of a sudden, you put this stuff out there. But again, with 2020, everything that happened before March, it seems so long ago.
Well, what kills me right now is everybody in the rock and roll, because well, first of all, it's hard to put an album if you can't tour it, right? It's like hard to put out a movie if you can't play it in a movie theater, right? Yeah. So that's why you keep pushing stuff back. Now, as soon as this breaks, there's going to be every band's done an album, every freaking band. The problem is everybody's done an album, so I don't know who's going to be heard, but you just got to keep swinging at it. That's all you can really do at this point. And hopefully, like I said, the first of the year, these bands can go out and tour these albums, and that'll help out a bit. But basically, like I was getting to, is a lot of EPs. I've never seen that many EPs. Usually it's full albums. Now it's 2 or 3 songs, and then a lot of stuff's been covers because they're bored. And the thing that kills me the most is when they re-release stuff that they had recorded that they never put on an album, because apparently it wasn't good enough to make the album to begin with. So now why are you releasing it? You understand? Like I see all the stuff with Prince, David Bowie, when they get to these states, they start releasing stuff, and you're like, man, he probably doesn't want that stuff released. I mean, they're demos basically. So I mean, sometimes it's cool, but how many more Beatles songs can you find or whatever?
Yeah, and it's like all of a sudden, if you remember when Michael Jackson died too, it's like, oh my God, we got like 2 full albums worth of stuff. I'm just thinking, well, maybe he didn't want to release that just because it wasn't ready. And then you listen to it, it's like, you can tell some of these are just straight demos as well. So it's just the estates and the people that have the authority over their estate just want the money off of it. And
that's it.
Again, it's when you understand that, it's like, okay, I understand where that comes from. However, these guys probably didn't want these songs to be released. If they want to be released, they did. Again, with Falling Reverse releasing that Carry On song that was supposed to be on Coming Home, they're still around. They're still going strong. So it's just something maybe for them to put out that people might have heard beforehand and really were asking for. You never know what the case is. But I do agree with you. I haven't seen so many EPs and so many singles just come out to the point where it does make a lot of sense just for people to put stuff out there during the pandemic just to keep their name in people's minds. I mean, you're not going to get a band like, and not everyone's going to be a band like From Ashes to New, where all of a sudden once the pandemic hit, they started putting out all these different covers, these parody covers as well. Sure. And people are really starting to get into them. And then they release their first single off of their 2020 album, and people go absolutely crazy for it because it feels just like Linkin Park back during the Hybrid Theory and Meteora days. And all of a sudden, they just blew up off of it. It totally makes sense. But again, that's a complete exception to the rule that
it doesn't happen that often. We make fun of it all the time because we're like, hey, what are they releasing this song for from Elvis? I mean, it could be from anybody, but you're like, dude, come on, man, there ain't nothing left. But so hopefully, like I said, 2020, we can start getting out again. I mean, because albums just in general, they just don't sell anymore anyways. I mean, the best you can do is go get a song from Spotify or iTunes or something for $1. Bands don't make any money from it. And you can get everything for free. I mean, it's like the AC/DC album. So I haven't been an AC/DC fan, right? So I'm excited they put out a new album. I didn't think they'd ever do it again. But I haven't bought the album, but all the stuff is out there. If I just want to go listen to it, I don't have to pay for anything. So that's the problem. I seen a thing a couple of years ago. Remember when Bon Jovi went out and did a tour and you could get his new CD when you bought tickets?
Yeah.
And now it still went platinum because he gave it away for free. It was included in the ticket price. Smart move. I mean, it's freaking Bon Jovi. Smart enough. But I mean, he didn't really sell them per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'll say, was it the same thing like in 2014 when U2 put out their whole album just for free on people's iTunes accounts? It's like, yeah, it went platinum because of how many people were on iTunes, but there was so much backlash behind it because so many people didn't want it.
Yeah, well, but those days are over. Like I said, I don't know if there's even. I mean, where do you buy music at now? Where do you physically buy CDs or vinyl? I mean, there's not very many places left. So yeah, I don't really know what's up, man. Like I said, touring, that's the next thing. And fortunately, now with the a vaccination, coming, we can probably get back on the road.
And I think that's what everyone is hoping for as well, because even for from a fan's perspective, not seeing many concerts in 2020, seeing how many I had set up and how many ticket refunds I've had to get this year and how many shows I still haven't got refunds yet because they pushed back to 2021, but I still want to go see the show. So I've still hung on to those tickets. There's no way I'm getting rid of those because I think, I was supposed to go see a show, 3 shows in one weekend in August of 2020.
Right.
It's at State Fair Park here in Wisconsin. Skillet was going to open up State Fair. I'm like, hey, I want to go see Skillet again because I enjoy seeing them. Then I was going to go see Breaking Benjamin in St. Asonia the next night. And then the following night, Deftones was playing at the rave. I'm like, nice. This is a great weekend. Right. Well, everything got pushed to 2021. I'm like, but I'm not getting rid of these tickets because I still want to see all these bands, even though I've seen Skillet 3 times. I've seen Breaking Benjamin twice. Right. I don't care. I want to go see them again because I absolutely love going to see them play live. But it's when all of a sudden, what I'm getting nervous about, it's a good nervousness, though. When shows come back, the flood of shows that's going to happen, my wallet and my bank account are absolutely going to hate me because I don't want to go and see every single one. All of a sudden, I'll be going to 3 shows a week, not just in a weekend, in a whole week. Like all of a sudden, okay, go one on Tuesday, go one Thursday, go one Saturday, go one on Friday. And it's going to be like that for maybe like 2-3 straight months. My bank account will hate me. My body might hate me from all the mosh pits I'll be getting in. But I'll look back at that when I'm like 70 years old and remember that was a fun time.
Yeah, right. No, it's good stuff, man. I mean, I'm excited about that. Plus, the other thing is it's hard to get refunds on your tickets. If they push the date back, I don't think they legally have to give you the money back. And what happened, Ticketmaster has a big problem with that. Now, Ticketmaster is not known to being the best company anyways, but all that money they got for 2020, they spent it all. It's all gone. They can't even give it back to you if they wanted it. So all they can do is push down these dates because it happened to a lot of festivals. You know what I mean? All those festivals got pushed back. So,
well, I was gonna say, like for me on that end, where usually when it comes to buying tickets, I will not go through Ticketmaster at all because of stuff. Most of the time, I will go straight to the venues themselves and take care of it that way. Because then all of a sudden, they don't have to give like a certain percentage of that ticket price to Ticketmaster. And then when refund, and all of a sudden, like with at the rave here in Milwaukee, if shows got canceled. And they will give you a ticket right away. They'll give you a refund right away. If it ends up getting postponed, they cannot legally give you the money back because, okay, it's still happening. There is just no definitive date. When they got a definitive date for certain things, they gave you a 1-month window where, okay, if you're able to make the new date, that's fine. Then hold on to your ticket. Nothing needs to be done. If you can't make the date, though, and you want a refund, you have 1 month to return your ticket to us, and we will give you a refund. Which makes sense because it's like, okay, like there's some shows I was going to go see, who was it? Devil Wears Prada and We Came as Romans. But it got rescheduled from April in 2020 to August in 2020 to the same day that the Daytona 500 or the Indy 500 was rescheduled. So I was supposed to go to Indy 500. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to return my ticket. All of a sudden it gets rescheduled back till March. And now I think the whole tour got scrapped as well. So everyone ended up getting their money back anyway.
Yeah, so you don't know, Well, cool, brother. Hey, what was your best Christmas gift? What'd you get?
Ooh, I'm not entirely sure because I got a bunch of wacky stuff where they got a giant shower curtain that has Super Mario on it, but like pixelated style from Super Mario World from the SNES, and also 3 vinyl albums as well because I have a vinyl record player. I love listening to vinyl, so I got 2 A Day to Remember albums and then the Sempiternal album from Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, cool, man. So you had a good Christmas. Everything's good.
It was a good Christmas. Again, the best Christmas gift I got was the fact that my grandpa stole one of my beers.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. It's the little things, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. What about you? What was your best memory from Christmas in 2020?
Well, I had Christmas with the kids, and so that was fun. And then what did I get? Well, I got a couple of classic rock shirts. Look at this one. I like this one. Almost Famous.
Yes.
That's funny. And then I got an AC/DC t-shirt, which is cool. I got some cool rock pants, and then just I don't know, man. I've been picking out a lot, been eating a lot. So
hey, it's as my mom always put it. Oh, it's the holidays. You can eat as much as you want.
Yeah, right.
She always would tell my dad this. And then January 1st rolls around, and then all of a sudden it's, okay, you got to not eat as many sweets. You got to cut back on this. It's like, whoa. You just told me to eat all this stuff. She was trying to tell me the same exact thing too. I'm like, no. Keep the cookies there. Except for Christmas Day, it's really hard to stay away from that stuff on Christmas Day or on Christmas Eve.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. I've just been through it. I just killed it all off so to get out of here. That's what I did. But listen, if you get a chance, man, check out, again, the cookbook, Rockin Recipes for Autism.com. Go there. Like I said, the book's $29.95, and it's for a great cause.
Well, how about this, Kenny? I'll guarantee you something within the next month, because there is a coffee table right there.
Oh, sweet.
The book will be on that coffee table by the end of January.
Oh, cool, man. I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate everything that you're doing too, man. Keeping rock and roll alive and giving people like myself an outlet to talk smack, I guess.
Hey, absolutely love rock, absolutely love metal, and this is something that, it was the music that helped me get through the worst part of my life, and it was when I was trying to find something to do for myself. I'm like, you know what? I fell in love with the music, so let's just make something like that happen. I can't make music, but I love to listen to it, and I love to talk about it. So what can I do there? And all of a sudden, boom, here we are.
Well, good, man. Well, I'm good you had a Merry Christmas. Again, hopefully you'll have a great New Year. Don't forget to check us out. What is it? February 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Check out our mini single. You're gonna die when you see it, bro.
Oh, I will definitely check out the mini single. And when it comes to find anything with the Rockin Recipes for Autism book, when it comes to anything with Novarex, when it comes to finding that mini single as well, for everyone listening or watching on YouTube, please look at the description of the podcast. I will have every single link you could possibly want in there. So it's a one-stop shop, one click away kind of thing. You'll get all the information you need. You'll be good to go. And yeah, if you guys like to cook, please get a copy of Rockin Recipes for Autism, because you will not be disappointed.
Hey, and go Packers.
Oh.
You're not a Green Bay Packer fan?
No, I'm a big Minnesota
I didn't figure
fan.
so. I figured being in Wisconsin, you were a Packer fan.
Everyone does, and there's a good amount of times where I'll usually have this hat on, but I'll usually have a purple hat on sometimes. So it's
you're Viking.
I've been a Vikings fan since I was 3 years old.
Oh wow!
Now
did they win the other night?
No, they got killed by the Saints. Because Alvin Kamara
they hung with them for a little bit. They were there for a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, the defense was just broken up this year. Young secondary, and then linebackers and defensive line. Everyone got hurt, so it was brutal.
Football, gotta love football.
Gotta love football. All right, Kenny. Well, I don't want to say goodbye in this podcast because I never like to say that, because that means that that's the end of it kind of thing, and I don't want to be the end of this thing, because I wanted to keep up with you and keep knowing how Rockin Recipes for Autism goes when the second volume comes out, if you're going to release more recipes, and what's going on, everything with Novarex as well. And if I do get a chance and sometime in 2021, where all of a sudden, wherever I am in the country, because I've got plans to go all over the place, if I end up in the same place as you are and I'm like, hey, Novarex is playing live, you're going to see some crazy guy in the crowd, and if for some reason someone gets hurt, the likelihood that it's me is very high. So
that's awesome. Yeah, man, just let me know. Keep me in the loop, brother.
Will do. So in good conscience, I cannot end this with a goodbye. In good conscience, I have to end this with, see you later, Kenny.
See you, buddy.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Kenny Wilkerson from the band Novarex and the author of Rockin Recipes for Autism. And check out the Raise Your Glass mini single out now. And when it comes again to everything in regards to this podcast and to Kenny and Novarex and the cookbook Rockin Recipes for Autism, with the links to everything, all their socials, where you can find the single, where you can listen to Novarex, where you can even get the cookbook and support We Rock for Autism. I said We Rock for Autism. You can check that out in the description of this podcast on YouTube stuff. I have a podcast, Google Play, iHeart Radio. Every single link you could possibly want to be in there. And yes, by the end of January, you will see that Rockin Recipes for Autism book sitting on my coffee table. And without further ado, that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by GD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes. The big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!